Let's start with the complexity of the human being. We found that actually how you're born, your genetics, what nature is, compared to what nurture is, your personal experiences and life influences. In fact, there's 4 core components that makes you you and makes you so unique compared to everyone else, just as the 3 of us. The first one is actually your behaviour style. The behaviour style shows us what information level you want, how you feel loved, how you feel connected, and the key things you're going to be very good at. And if you develop your natural style, you become in what we call flow, where you do things easier, faster, and more efficiently than anyone else. However, you're not born with the instruction manual. So to understand your flow is actually about getting an idea of what your core behaviour is and then building that, educating it. In fact, it was Malcolm Gladwell in a book called The Outliers that showed that if you put 10,000 hours into developing yourself to training and personal experience, you'll become an expert or a master at something. But unfortunately, you can adapt your behaviour and you may not live your natural talents and go and do others and build strengths around things that you may not be totally aligned to in terms of your natural style. And that's where you can become proficient at something, but you may not have the love and the passion that you want for the role as your entrepreneurial style. In addition to that, where you've got your behaviour style which you can adapt and it can be something different than your natural style, the other key element is your communication style. This is known as your human representative system. And you would have heard about this because you're either more of a dominantly visual person, an auditory person, or a feelings person, known as a kinesthetic. Even in training programs, some of you prefer to watch and see PowerPoint presentations and read the manuals and get input through the visual senses. Whereas others may just be happily listening to us talk all along, and that's how you're going to educate yourself. But the feelings people, they will be the ones in the training course that will get agitated, that need to be doing something, physically doing something. So hence when you look at it, this VAK system allows us to identify the reasons why we click with people. So you know, some people you meet, you actually just click with them. And that click is what we're talking about, having an aligned VAK system. And it tells us what words you use, how you communicate, how you feel loved. Because the person with a high V feels loved when they see their partner doing things for them. Where they buy the bling, the gifts, when they're being shown off, when they're being taken out. It's all the things that their partner's doing that they actually get to see that allows them to feel most loved. Whereas the auditory person, they do need to be told they're loved and appreciated to get to that ultimate point of feeling loved. And of course, the kinesthetic person, that's when they feel through touch connection that they will get to that point of knowing that they're loved because their whole world will be wrapped in that feeling of love. In fact, it even explains the honeymoon period. You know, when you first meet someone, you're taking them out, you're showing them around, you're buying them gifts. Well, that's the V in action, and that's the big tick for the Vs. But the auditory people, you're saying nice things to them. I wish I'd met you before. I really connect with you. I really love spending time with you. And oh man, you're so what I'm after. You're actually ticking all the A boxes. And have you ever noticed it's a bit more physical sometimes, holding hands, hugging, kissing, and therefore you're pushing all the K buttons. But in reality, over a period of time, we go back into our dominant style. And if it's not matched to your style, we may not be doing the things that show you or make you feel that you're in love. And as a consequence, the relationship, the honeymoon period, can actually go away. So to understand that, that means you're born with both your behaviour style and your communication style. However, you can adapt it. Because even that communication style even tells you how you dress. The visual person is very highly conscious about their visual presentation. For the woman, she'll be putting makeup on whether she's at home or going out for the extremities of the generalisation of the visual person. Whereas the auditory person will typically always have makeup on their way out and always question, are they wearing the right thing for where they're going? And of course, kinesthetic, the feelings person, it's about feelings, it's about comfort, it's about wearing stuff that they're comfortable with. Now imagine the issues that arises, because if you've got a kinesthetic person that's actually dressing for comfort compared to a high visual person who wants their partner to dress up and look immaculate, you might have a bit of a difference in opinion. Because the V will typically look at the K and start thinking, you're not really going out with me wearing that, are you? And they'll typically be buying presents like clothes for every birthday and Christmas. But really, in the workplace, it comes down to the issues we've got with communicating with one another. Because even the words we use, for example, I could be an auditory person looking at a visual person in the workplace and say, gee, your tie's really loud. And the visual person may not actually understand whether they like the tie or not. And as a consequence of that, there's a saying we go on. In the absence of information, people make up stories. And sadly as it is, those stories are very rarely positive. For example, my wife is late. Is she having an affair? Has she had a car accident? It's not necessarily jumping to the positive things unless we take control of the mind and start conditioning, which is really what this program is about, understanding how we work. But going back to that tie situation, in the absence of knowing if the person liked the tie or not, they might have a query where the person's trying to take the mickey out of them or they actually like the tie. And as a consequence of that, in the absence of information, they may make up a story saying, I'm not sure about this relationship, and therefore there's going to be a query whether this relationship is going to be on a good basis or not. However, if someone else was there, they might say, hey, what he's saying, your tie's really bright, it attracts attention. And as a consequence of that, you might have a different reaction. They might say, yeah, the tie's cool, isn't it? I bought it in Spain. And the relationship would have shifted from a potentially bad relationship to a very positive one. So there's the two things we're born with, our behaviour style and our communication style. But we do adapt. And that adaptation comes from the social influences, the life experiences, the observations we have in life. So if I got a person who is highly kinesthetic, being a person that's very dressed usually for comfort, and I find that they are always immaculately dressed, whether at work or in their private life, I would know that's about life conditioning. In fact, if I ask the person, what did your father tell you about dressing? They might come back with things like, you must dress to impress. No one takes you seriously unless you're dressed well. And as a consequence of that, they've adapted from their natural style. In addition to those natural things we're born with and adapt, we also have those life experiences, those observations, those things that are happening to us and the aspects of ourselves that become what people refer to as personality. And the two aspects of this which makes up the four complexities of human being is the first one is when you look at how our values and belief systems are created and impact us. In fact, I might have the perfect behaviour style, but my value system says I'm not allowed to do that. My religion says I'm not allowed to do it, or whatever the case is. And as you well know, our thinking impacts our behaviours and actions, which gives us our results. So you may have the perfect style and the perfect behaviour, but you don't go and do it because your thinking's impacted, and therefore you don't get the results as an entrepreneur that we want to create sustainable and successful business. So the values and belief systems also cater for things like cultural differences. And the fourth element is actually based on your expertise and your knowledge. This is about your knowledge about your profession, your discipline. And that's why I can say I can have the person that's most expert in their discipline, but their attitude is bad. And that's that influence again of the values and belief systems coming in. So in totality, we've got those four complexities: your behaviour style, your communication style, your values and beliefs, and your personal knowledge and expertise. Bringing these together starts explaining why you are such a unique person that no one in the past has ever been like you. No one in the present is like you, and no one in the future will be like you. You are unique.